Hello everyone. Let's just wait for people to start turning up. But, well, I can see 10 of you in here, so thank you for joining us this evening. Or whatever time it is where you are. So we are going to continue with Mr. Pat's avatar. Shout out, Mr. Imri, if you are here. But we will be continuing on with this tonight. But I also think this looks like an aubergine. As I feel like we should just have some fun. You know, messing around first. So, yeah. I'm just going to draw some things. And then we will go into more of a sort of painting workflow. So I will show you how we will go on to colour this guy. So I think he's probably at the stage now where I will just start colouring him. But yeah, and then we're just going to keep adding colours, add light and shade, really just see how it goes. Should be a lot of fun. Okay, so before we go, I'm just going to warm up and then do some sketching. Just because I feel like it's good to cover multiple aspects of the drawing and painting process. Right. I do like this pen. I wonder what it is. Carl's Paintbox Flatty. So Kyle, I don't know if you Google Kyle, you'll see he did a lot of paintbrushes for Photoshop. And I've recently started using more of them. Oh god, sorry, this epic music is a bit too epic, I think. If the epic music is too epic for any of you, do just shout out. Yeah, so, oh god, commercial, wow. So, yeah, I never used to really bother, I guess, with brushes too much. But now... Oh, sorry, that is an old project. I don't know why he's just turned up. Okay, there we go. Okay. Just going to give myself a bit more room. Still, I want to give him really sort of long legs. So, there we go. So you're seeing everything warts and all, how I still, after all these years, can't judge the size of the canvas correctly. Lots of people worry about how much detail they should go into with stuff like this. obviously the more you practice drawing, I think the more you can kind of imply certain things in certain anatomy. But, you know, when you're thumbnailing, I can't emphasize enough, the point isn't to do a beautiful drawing, because lots of it is going to get... Statistically, most of your work is going to get thrown away, right? If you're thumbnailing and you produce 10 thumbnails, you know, 9 of those are going to be thrown away. Right, 90% of the work you do is going to be thrown away. Of course, that's a little bit disingenuous, because the stuff that you do can go on and you can use it in other projects, right? And any drawing that you practice goes on to improve future used drawings. But yeah, it's a funny one. You should, you know, the answer to how much should I develop it, the answer is as little as possible to get the idea across. So I am stopping him now. As I said, we're just going to do a quick warm-up, so I might do a couple more just to loosen up a bit. I'm not sure it's working. I'm not sure loosening myself up here loosens me up for painting, but it seemed like a decent plan at the time. So again, you'll see how I'm starting with a strong idea, right? I think the more you go for something from the beginning, the more useful your thumbnail is, right? So I've got a sort of square avocado shape. I'm going to sort of do what I was doing here, with the legs coming from the side. And when you have this really wide spacing in the pelvis, you know, then you get to do kind of interesting things with the lower body there. Okay, and it's that now, like, what interesting proportions can I have here? Can I either go with really small dainty feet, which is a certain look in itself, or, you know, how about some really large feet? You know, that's also a different sort of vibe entirely. I sort of just feel like the arm should come on down to here. Just cause. Of course, the reason why I think you should all practice sketching a lot is you just sort of build intuition. Right, you just have a bag of tricks that you can try. And, you know, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but I think, you know, it's almost like you've done enough experiments over the course of your art to, you know, have a larger and larger success rate. I think a big part of it is also not getting rattled. You know, if you do a bad drawing, I think you'll get to the point where you've drawn so much and basically you've drawn so much that, you know, if you do a bad drawing, so what? Slightly facetious of me to say that, because of course there are instances where you are really going to care about doing a good drawing, right? If you're working with a client you've dreamt of working with for years, right, you're obviously going to be really self-conscious and, you know, really sort of second guessing yourself. That's natural. But in general, you know, the idea is you become more confident as you get older. Okay, that's number 2. So number 3. As I said, starting with a strong idea or a strong kind of shape. Again, I go for these sorts of wide pelvises. So because I keep doing it, it makes sense for the next one I try. to have a narrow pelvis. So to compensate for that, I'm going to put the legs there. I was planning to put them on the edges of the pelvis. I'm just going to put them here. So bring them to a sort of taper down there. Hey man. Hey Hitchan. I am indeed a 2D artist. Yeah. So I've been streaming as of January, right? I think I started in late January. So yeah, of course, you know, Firestorm, it was mostly started by 3D artists, right? So Heather is a 2D artist, of course. But yeah, I got invited on here, or I can't remember if I think I volunteered because I was invited onto Firestorm Studio, and then obviously I knew that they had this really cool streaming thing going on. So yeah, I offered to do 2D, to stream 2D, to stream 2D art. Although I do use a lot of ZBrush, right? So I'm not doing so much of that because I don't know. In a way, I mean, of course, like if there's a big demand for it, yeah. So if you guys want to see that, you know, do just let me know in the chat, because I do a lot of sort of ZBrush concepts and work, and actually, for the majority of my career, I've been a 3D artist. So I used to work in movies as a 3D technical director. But I think I've always been, I think I just like designing, you know, whether it's in 2D or 3D, it's all the same. You know, it's just nice to create cool things. So yeah, there's some sketching. We might come back to this simply because I don't know how you guys feel, but I do get a little bit like, do you get a little bit bored, I think the word is, of working on the same thing again and again. Although having said that, there are far worse things to work on, I reckon. So I do get a little bit bored, so maybe we'll come back to doing some quick sketching in a second, you know, at the end. But yeah, we want to continue on with the main event. These were trailers, right? These were trailers. We could actually make one of these into a finished piece if you wanted. But yeah, this is what I was mostly doing last week. So last week we tidied up the lines, and now we are going to start to really just start to bring Mr. Imri here to life. If you're all nice, maybe he'll turn up sometime. But yeah, so oh yeah, this was the variation with the hood that we didn't end up going with. So yeah, let's get rid of that. Just want to organize this properly. Always keep your document tidy, is what I say. So these all references, I think they are going to come in useful later. But I'm just going to put those all down there and just group it, right? You know, I see lots of students put in loads and loads and loads of layers, right? If you've got so many layers but you don't know what's what, there's no point. Oh, hello. I was invoking your presence. I was invoking your presence. I don't know. I'm sure there's some Scottish folkloric god that we could pray to. So at this time, right, I don't want to be relying too much on the outline. Not so much now, but later, right? If you use oh, what, these ones? Good. That's not a bad combination. Oh, Martina, is that you? That is you, isn't it? How are you doing? Do you know how I guess? Because everyone who I don't know or not met before tends to be a little bit scared of me. So you're in your 3rd year. How's your 3rd year? Muy chévere. Doing retopology as you stream. Oh, that's everyone's favourite. Okay. Wow. Well, yeah. What did you end up specialising in? Okay, so what we're going to do here is, yeah, first of all, I'm going to break for white background. Amazing. Amazing. I am going to try and make it to your graduate show. When is your graduate show? It's like this month, isn't it? No, it's on June 16th. Oh, okay. But your deadline is this month, isn't it? Or something. Yeah, I've always found that arrangement a little bit bizarre, I've got to say. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm going to block in flat colours now. So what this is, well, it's what it says. I just block in the local colour of all these different parts. So I think there's going to be a lot of browns and greys and stuff like that. I mean, that's not bad. I guess blues as well, right? You do kind of have to sort of play it a little bit in the middle as well with these local colour passes. So it can quite easily kind of end up what was I going to say? Yeah, it can kind of end up screwing up your lights and darks. You know, it can sort of end up screwing your values if you go a little bit too extreme. Of course, some of these already like in the references, right? So, oh, that was it. Yeah. So we've got these. Let's go for sort of more of a sort of bluey sort of colour down here. Are you all on track to make your hand in, Sven? Yeah, that's good. Everyone is always behind. La verdad. Well, keep going and you'll get there. ¿Cómo va mi... God, not very well. ¿Cómo va mi español? Well, God, it's been like 2 years since I saw you, hasn't it? Debería ser mejor. Vamos por buen camino, pero vamos despacio. Eso es como lo diría. No, no lo haremos. Porque no se me da bien insultar a la gente en español. Todavía. To be fair, I feel like I want to be nice to you. The other Hispanohablantes, I do feel like being a little bit rude too. Yeah, you can't. That's it is actually something that I do miss out of a bit, like roasting students. Pat, how much of a tan do you want? God, this music's gone well dramatic. Hello again. Wow, we got a regular. Got to make you pale. Oh my god, I suppose it will set for blue off. And I made you quite yellow. I think that's probably not good. Okay. Actually, we could give you the sort of we could try that. We could try that. See how it goes. We'd try something like that. But you get really strong UV up in, don't you? You get really strong UV up in Scotland in the summer months. I just don't want to look. I just don't want you to look too ashy. I don't want you to look undead. I've only lived for like 5 minutes a year. Because it's been really nice in the southeast. It's been really, really nice in the southeast. But like when I've looked at the weather map, it's like nice where we are, and then over the top corner of the UK, it is there's a big rain cloud. It's a big F off rain cloud. Okay. So we're going on here, continuing to add these colours. So because we can't make Pat's skin really colourful, we're forbidden. I'm gonna try and add some nice accents on his body. But again, like we don't really want to push things too much. You know, it's a bit like, well, would you go out dressed in really garish colours? And just maybe not, probably not, right? It's actually really nice though. You've got so many nice tones of like brown, and you know, it's like when you've got these more muted browns, you can like go in with that same brown there and just turn it up a notch. You know, so we're now in that sort of mid-range, and then you can go for that sort of colour down there. I'm trying a little bit to keep all these like colours separate, right? So just so if I wanted to isolate one particular part of the painting there, I've got the ability to do it. let's make another layer. Like I said, you know, just want to keep this all separate. And also, actually, what is important now is keeping on moving, so I'm not, you know, I'm not getting stuck. Because it's only really possible to make a judgment about everything once the whole thing is in, right? So if you're fanning about trying to, you know, wondering about the individual shades of brown here, you're kind of approaching it wrong, because you need to see how all the colours sort of look together before you decide, okay, this needs a little bit more colour. You can make educated guesses, of course, but yeah, you do need to just get the colour on. What are your clan colours, Pat? We need to know. We don't actually need to know. I have no clan. Oh, is it because you're not a muck? You're not a muck anything. Well, what would you want them to be? You get some really cool tartan nowadays, actually. Black and orange. Oh, okay, okay. We might be able to do something along those lines. Okay. I'll see what I can do. Okay. This would be the sort of thing, of course, if you're doing it for real. If I was doing it for real, I would go to said client and be like, what do you think looks best? It's not about what I want. But, yeah. As I said, making sure you're just blocking in something quickly. And then, as this is the base layer, I can always go on over the top with something else. So that is your skin. And we are missing something for this part here. I think it makes sense to make this bit of fur trim here a light colour, or the same colour as the stuff there. Of course, this can all be changed later. I do have to remind myself that, you know, and that's a good thing to get into your heads, right? You know, clients always ask for changes, so, you know, I think it's kind of liberating to just know that whatever you're doing is going to be wrong. Your client's going to hate it. They're going to ask you to change it. So, yeah. It's quite dark brown, your hair. I don't want to go quite that dark just yet. Again, these aren't really the final colours, they're just the local colours. What I just want to be careful of is that I don't sort of kill my ability to see the light and dark. So this should make quite a big difference, I'd have thought. I do love the epic music more. I think it does fit think it does fit the subject matter better. What colour eyes you got? Brown as well. It's normally the case. Everything else is brown. Okay. Greeny brown. I like greeny brown better. Let's go with that. So this line I can always tidy up later. Need to put the woad on underneath. Woad is a plant, isn't it? Well, I don't know what else it could be. I don't know what else woad would be. Let me check. Although the plants have gone from behind me, so if you've been watching my stream since the start, you would know that. Oh, Wodis isatis. Very interesting. And this is in the cabbage family. Well, there you go. You learn something every day. Of course, like, nobody is here to learn about botany, are you all? Whenever I talk about plants, most people just glaze over. Okay. I feel like that's sort of dark brown, but I kind of want to use the same one, but knock it back a bit. And that's going to be like the base underneath here. And just slip that in there. Getting a bit too dark. To be honest, I'm not sure how accurate I have to be with I'm not sure how accurate I have to be with the block in here. Sounds like I'm sure if you did, it would save you time, but yeah, it's almost like if I'm going to paint over it anyway, there's no need. I might as well use this for the kind of there. It's going to have God, this is very dramatic, this song. It's like Game of Thrones. It's going decently quick. I think we'll definitely go on to graphic shadows today. So you'll see me You'll see me start to get some light and shade on him. And then we're kind of just going to go from there. And then after those shadows are in, it's just render, render, render. I don't know if to have it go over your eyebrow or not. So pupils, they are going to be black. I think what I might do is I might put the brown in for now, and then we'll add we'll go green as a bit of a colour dodge layer over the top. I think that might be prettiest. Lighter. And always adjust it afterwards. In fact, we're definitely going to adjust it afterwards. So, gets us off the hook. Hey man, how you doing? How are you doing? Oh, you're both here tonight. Amazing. Two regulars. Nice to see you both again. Let's push that more towards yellowish kind of white. And probably a bit more white. Oh, and horns are quite dark. I never know. Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely thinking of Braveheart for sure. Ask Pat how many times he's randomly had people shout freedom at him. Well, it's not randomly shouting freedom. Exactly. Freedom! There you go, yeah. I like the theme tune though. I hate Braveheart. Almost should be Braveheart reminds you of Scotland, right? Not the other way round. I feel like the music is making me work faster. It's so epic. So I said I was going to try and keep some of these colours separate, but of course I haven't. Because I'm a dingbat like that. So you just want to block something in for these like nice little details. You know, these little accents are important. Well, we can always change it later. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, no one's stopping you from screen grab it and giving it a go. I think at this stage, though, I'm going to draw a line underneath it. Oh dear. Put all these things on the same layer. It's not a super big deal though. So I do sort of end up playing to all the different primaries. But there's not really a lot of red on him. It's actually mostly warm cool, isn't he? But I am going to add in some little colour accents. And I probably don't want to sort of go in too strong. It's very easy to just add colour later on. See if there's that sort of curl on his belt there. Orange, you said, didn't you? Yeah, let's go proper orange then. Let's do it. No. If in doubt, just make it brown. Oh, I'm outside of my layer structure. That's why. So I feel like the tartan I'm going to put on later. Maybe I'm trying to work out if I'm just sort of putting it off, or if I'm actually like, or whether it would actually be a better idea to do it later. So if I just wham the opacity down, you can get some nice mixtures. That can be a good way to sort of just find more colours while still keeping like that colour harmony. I feel like as we're not doing too badly into hello 3D Manic. I feel like because we're not doing too badly with time, I probably should at least map out a little bit of the tartan. Oh god, and we're missing his it's a lot of stuff that we're missing. How you doing tonight, 3D Manic? Sort of abandoned my layer system. I'm just like making everything. Same colour. This is meant to be a little bit like the Firestorm logo, so currently it's no one. So if one of the team, you know, if anyone wants to step up. Oh god, excuse me. If anyone wants to step up and do it, I'm sure, you know, he'd be most grateful. So yeah, I think at this stage it probably is a good idea to just start mapping out some of the patterns and stuff that we're going to be doing. And also, you know, like lots of things I've started off with best intentions, but now I'm just like doing everything. Yeah, well, he's in here. He's in here. Pat, do you fancy modelling yourself? Oh, there you go. I think that's a yes. You know, it's still a while away from being finished, but yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be cool to see, for sure. For sure. Oh yeah, this needed a colour. I think it's probably best to... What colour is on him? Oh, this was his, that's his kilt, isn't it? Yeah, so that should be that colour. No worries. Well, we've already got you here. Badum. I want this to at least be a different value from what's behind it, so let's raise that up. Let's add that. Does this count as chili? Chibi? Ew, yeah. I'm not... I feel like chibi also makes people look like babies as well. So, I'm not sure it would, to be honest. Getting there, though. Certainly chibi vibes, I think. let's get to work on this axe. Again, there's probably going to be lots of opportunities to do this late, to tidy this up later. So I do think that we kind of want to colour in that skull. Let's raise it up a bit. Blah. Where have you gone? There you are. Yes, that blimmin' tartan. We probably should give it a go now. Or later. I don't know. I don't think it'd be too hard to do later, actually, as I think about it. It could just be, it's probably just going to be a layer over the top. Might be, in fact, be easier after after the design's a little bit more worked out. Okay. Let's do some graphic shadow passing. So I'm going to group that and do that. So I wonder if for this will be easier to go straight back to without any flat colors on top. Okay. So we've got our character here. So I'm just going to take a multiply layer. We're just going to work with pure black. We can always temper that later. And now we need to just work out a shadow shape for our guy here. So I'm starting here because you can see what's going on the body there. So that makes it kind of a little bit easier. And I think for this I'm going to stick to the hard round. Maybe not go quite so black, so I can just see where I'm putting that shadow. So yeah, this is an exercise so this is quite an important step, and I normally, with my students, if I'm teaching them 2D, I will set an exercise where they practice this skill, because it's pretty essential if you're going to produce, if you're going to produce convincing light and shade, you must know how to make. You must be good at making graphic shadow passes. Again, like all those things, it's easier the more you do it. But having said that, still rightfully, and lots of people find it quite intimidating. This is a tricky thing, is sometimes trying to visualize what's going to cast shadows over what. I think you can sort of get clues from there as to where to put those shadows. Another thing that I always try and get people to think of when they're doing this is, yeah, again, always think of your basic shapes. This arm here is basically just a big cylinder. Head is just kind of like a big egg shape, right? You can see it's come together fairly quickly. There's some lights coming from sort of top and to the side. I don't know if it'll be that like that. Yes, I reckon if the lights come from the top, might be that. Let's just go with it for now, it's not too big a deal. I can always change it later. Just going to do that quickly now. This face is actually one of the easiest ones to do. What's it? Actually, what's the lighting on Pat light? Lighting's not quite right for what we need, but it's fairly easy to it's quite easy to grab a picture and kind of just take the shadow pattern from that. So, you know what, that light's quite far round, but let's see how it goes. I'm not really shading his face. So that is all going to be shadow. As I said, it's not always an easy thing to guess. But you've got a little bit of shadow that obviously the skull would be casting. That skull's kind of not an easy, although again, like, you can sort of copy what's happening in the reference there. The other thing is, this hair's going to be so like dark in the front, I think you're not really going to see. You're not really going to see a lot of that shadow shape that I'm painting in now. It's not uber important, right? You know, sometimes you can make an imperfect guess and it's all right. It will still work. So this shadow is obviously not in our reference. So I'm just going to have to do my best. Just I have to do my best. But often, if you put something in and at least it's confident enough, you'll often find that, you know, the confidence matters more than it being perfectly accurate. Oh dear. I think that little step there gives this beard quite a lot of dimension, actually. So maybe that can stay. So I'm going to try and get a little bit more detailed with all these other little bits. We can kind of see it's starting to work as intended. And in case you're wondering, let's also whack a layer mask on this. You know, this sits on top, and then you have your colours underneath, right? And you see that shadow pass gets multiplied on top. Looks a little bit Studio Ghibli, actually, quite funny. So it looks a little bit, yeah, it looks a little bit Studio Ghibli there. Okay, so let's keep going. As you can see, you know, it's probably going to work reasonably, but there's definitely lots of other bits we could continue to detail here, including that tartan. Oh my god, that tartan. Probably going to put that off till next week, you know, and then next week feel free to hold me to it. I've got to decide what I'm doing with that tartan. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the information that I'm seeing in the reference, I'm going to try and make something here. Yeah, and this music's making it all feel very high stakes, which I think is a good thing. I'm sort of desperately making one last attempt to make the shadow pass work. You'll find misplaced shadows around the mouth can suddenly give them a really weird expression. All right then, so I am going to step away just for a second. I'm going to go get a drink. And then we will come back and continue with this guy. Okay. Catch you in 2 seconds, folks. Okay, right. So let us continue. So we're just going to be a little bit more detailed with. It looks very Studio Ghibli. Let's see, actually, I kind of need to get this right on the nose. Sorry everyone, I feel like I've gone quite quiet, but sure. I'm sure you don't need me to say anything. Let the art speak for itself, right? Am I right? Oh, I need to hide this guy. He was hiding that. Yeah, so some of this is me just making the shadows up, and some of it is where I can. You know, I'm just using little bits of reference to help me out. It's sort of, yeah, it's not easy all the time. Oh, that's his hair. Wow. He's got very nice flowing hair. I wonder if Pat's ever had long hair. Answers in the comments, Pat. God. Giblified Pat. I don't know. I'm finding it helpful to flip between this version and the grayscale version. So I feel it gives a little bit. It's kind of nice to see how the whole thing is going to pan out. So I feel like that would sort of not be getting any light. It's all kind of facing downwards. Answers on a postcard, please. I think I'm right there, though. Sorry, I need to catch myself humming to the music. It's not the best streaming experience. Hum along with Peter. So you can almost sculpt with light, right? So just see how this line has come straight across. If I kind of go like that, you can kind of make this seem fatter. Similarly, that should kind of be going straight across with maybe a little bit of a sort of dip there where it's going across that button. Now that I look at it, I mean, it doesn't matter so much with weapons and metal because that's going to be sort of almost painted separately anyway. So I might just leave that as it is. I don't think there's really there's too much point in you know, getting that accurate because it's metal. Metal, I feel like you kind of have to treat it differently. Well, you know what? You know what? Probably are at a decent level with this. You know, we can always adjust it later. So right now the aim is to kind of get the opacity about right, because you know, too light we don't see any light and shade, but too contrasty and it's a look, right, but it's not quite the look that we're after. So I think something like that feels good to me. Okay. So now the next step would be to build out the values. So I'm not sure. Not sure how much. Do I? That's true of sorry, I just caught up with the chat. I feel like that's true of, oh, there we go. I hadn't actually, so that needs to go under my shadows. As you can see, that's just to add a bit more light to the front of his body and say like the middle of these shapes here. You can see that starts to turn the form ever so slightly. I'm going to take that away. Actually, no, I lie. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a bit of a blue tint. I prefer to do that with the colour balance. I just feel like it's a little bit more responsive. Or not. Is that because I'd selected the layer mask? Okay, let's do it this way then. Okay. So this time I'm going to multiply. Let's see how it looks. I'm not going to commit to it just yet, but let's see how it looks with kind of a bluish shadows. I do like that a bit more. I feel like I'll have to do something with his skin, but yeah. I'm just worried that this skin progression here is a little bit odd. Does everyone like the Inception rip-off? So let's keep working into it. I'm going to save another version. Because we're going to start, we are going to start, you know, sort of working irreversibly now. I just want to make sure I can always step back. But in practice, like most of these, most of what I do here can be fixed anyway. Right, later it's not a huge deal. It's the key with art and life. Don't make things more of a drama than they should be. It's good advice, I think. So what I'm doing here, form shadows soft. Core shadows, it's not good. God, it sounds so good in my head. So cast shadows are going to be hard. Form shadows are going to be softer. if you don't know the difference, go back to school or book some lessons. I think I'm probably going to tackle his face first. I do just want to... I'm a little bit concerned with the colour, but I might push... that's very, very grey, but it is magenta. I feel like I probably want to push the colour in his skin a little bit warm before I continue. So even though I do want to start painting over him, I do just want to make sure I've got that colour correct. I don't mind it, but part of me is saying just push that purple a bit more sort of magenta instead of blue. I feel like it might be a little bit too cold for him. So let's just, it's not going to be the easiest selection here. We're just going to select I think that's all it is. Yeah, it's a very small section. And then, of course, we need to do it to his hand spare. I just want to push a little bit more warmth now. It's just what you find is if you don't do that, you end up with a kind of zombie. You end up with sort of a zombie skin. And I know Pat said that. Let me turn the lights on. Except for why it's otherwise you end up with the skin tones looking really kind of pale or just lacking the sort of fleshiness. Because I mean I know Brad said I know Pat said Scottish people are pale, but not like not dead looking. It's a bit magenta. I feel like I can push. feel like I can push some reflected lights and some blues in that colour anyway. Let's just see how it goes. I don't think it's sort of fatal, and it's easy, relatively easy to fix. I don't think that tone is bad. There's always things I can do later with that tone as well. But I think I'm sort of happier having that more in that kind of reddish magenta range than just blue. Okay. So I'm going to leave the sort of messy colours there as they are. And let's start the exciting bit. So we're going to go over the painting layer here. Sorry, we're going to go over the line layer here. And to be honest, at this stage, I'm kind of focusing more on painting lines out than kind of doing anything super fancy. And then as I work, you know, I'm just colour picking, and you know, everything is going to get tidied up. So, you know, now I've got the sort of shadow value for over here. You know, I can paint a little bit of a shadow out there, right? So I kind of got all my tones worked out. Actually, I lie. I'm lying ever so slightly. I'm going to introduce a little bit of a sort of warmer tone just before we turn into the dark there. So I'm just going to, he's just a bit too pale, I think. So I'm just going to drop a blending mud underneath there. I'm just going to warm that up ever so slightly. Maybe multiply, it's better. Yeah, okay. Just kind of want a sort of darker, more saturated tone. Kind of like what you see there, just in the half tone. Again, it's something that will just stop him feeling too pale. But I also need that extra value to be able to model some of the planes on his face a bit better, right? If I don't have that darker value, it gets a little bit, you know, I got sort of less values to play with. Whereas if you just see, if I have that sort of half tone there, I can build up to that lighter value in the center. So I don't want to go too, I don't want to trap myself by going sort of too light there. Okay, we'll see how it goes. I mean, honestly, I am a little bit tired. It's the end of the working day here, so you know, it's not always the best time to be making, you know, big important decisions about your painting, but definitely at the stage now where yeah, we're like just tidying him up now. Sorry, Pat, I'm talking about you as if you're like not here, but then would I be like, we're tidying you up, Pat? Like as if you were the painting. I don't know, this is like unprecedented. Never been in a situation like this before. It's really weird. He's got a lot of foundation on his nose, I think, for a guy in this reference. Can you see how matte his nose is compared to this part of his face? I would rather... It would actually be better if it wasn't so matte, because then we'd see that highlight down the edge there. So the thing, we can make generalizations, like it's not a good look to be shiny in your photo shoots, but at the same time, like, at the same time, I think there's a sort of weird, I don't know, I feel like it's sort of reductive, isn't it? Like, a person looks the best when you just make their face completely flat. You know, it's where I'm like, you guys need to think about what beauty actually is and what you want to. Matte Pat. Well, Pat's not particularly matte here. I don't know, Pat. Are you a big fan of foundation? Where you're like, for this headshot, I need to make sure I've got my foundation on. Yeah, I didn't think so. So I think I was talking a little bit about the brushes earlier, and yeah, I have been enjoying like using more textured brushes. I would say yeah, using more textured brushes recently. But for now, and I guess maybe it's because maybe I'm not quite so confident with them, to be honest. I do build it up using, well, this brush here, which will often see me use a lot, which is kind of very plain Jane, right? It doesn't really do anything spectacular. And that's because I tend to add the texture on afterwards, right? After I've kind of worked everything out. And I find if I add in texture too early and not, you know, I'm sort of, I don't get my blends right, then it gets a little bit difficult, right? I do find that you know, that texture adds an extra sort of layer of complication that I don't sort of feel like I want or need at the time right now. So yeah, that might be why. So you'll see me just use this brush all the time. You know, this placer always has a lot of potential to go wrong. You know, if I just make one false step, I can, you know, I can make him look like he's been spanning for lip gloss. Or like he's got a bust lip or something. So I'm gonna tread carefully, or probably leave it till next week. So when I find myself getting a little bit, you know, into my own head, I feel like, oh my god, there are people watching, it looks a bit shit. I just like bring it back to a simple mantra, right? You're just painting your lines out, you're just tidying stuff up. And then, you know, you just keep things in check. So I think, to be honest, all pictures go through a little bit of a shit phase. I should probably say hump. That's a little bit more of a nicer way of saying it. But yeah, most paintings do go through a bit where it does look a little bit shite. And, you know, you just have to keep going. And sometimes, honestly, sometimes it resolves itself. Other times, you know, it doesn't quite live up to its promise. I think that's just painting, unfortunately. No one is ever fully in control. Well, at least I don't think so. I don't, you know, not according to me. Having said that, I don't think this is going too horrifically. As you can see, we're just, you know, it's actually quite nice. You know, we're just going through tidying. Hope you can see where it's going now, though. You can start to see how that light, how that rendering is being applied, you know, and hopefully it feels slightly demystified for you. And I've got all those colours worked out with blending modes, so again, it's really nice just to colour pick and go. Yeah. In fact, maybe you've got to trust the ugly phase as well. Like, where's my ugly phase? I think that happens as well. Like, oh my god, this is going too well. This is going to, not this. I don't think this is going too well at all. But sometimes it's like, yeah, it's going too well. Like, when's it all going to go horribly wrong? Oh, that's kind of pretty now, isn't it? I like that. I feel like I want to paint some highlights in and stick with this. At least I know there's a reasonably like sound foundation underneath it all. But yeah, there's something quite nice about that. Okay. Oh, and I'll need to blow Pat up as well. Yeah, let's start blowing him up. How big do you guys reckon? That's a little bit large. Let's blow up to 5k, Pat. I think I might post that to LinkedIn. We'll see. I don't know why I like this paint. I like this so much more than with the colours, but it needs to have colours. So what can I do? Okay, let me. Oh, so these can disappear. I don't need these anymore. Well, to be honest, that brings us up to 1 second, guys. Okay, cool. Well, that brings us to the end. I would normally go on a little bit, but I am a little bit busy tonight. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed so far. Yeah, but he needs to be coloured. He needs to be coloured. I mean, what we could do actually is we could just lift. We could just lift the. We could try that now. We could just lift the colours so that they're overall a little bit lighter. Yeah, maybe it needs to be a bit brighter actually. Yeah, but also that some of that's going to be painted anyway. I also think it looks kind of cool with the sort of rough painting on the top. Anyway, he's coming along, so we've got to this stage from the clean line pass earlier. We've done some blocked colours, and now, you know, honestly, for probably the next few weeks, you will see me paint him up. I'll definitely mix it up a little bit. So I'll be mixing this up with other projects, other workflows maybe. But yeah, we're just going to plow on. I reckon probably next 3 weeks, rest of the month, to get him finished. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you all for coming. Lots of you today, so that's great. Yeah, 70 of you in here. That's bonkers. So thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. Like, follow, subscribe, Firestorm. Yeah, join the Discord community if you haven't already. Check out all our socials, all that jazz. You know the drill. Otherwise, yeah, I think I'm here next Friday at the same time. So, yes, I'll catch you all. I'll catch you all later. Okay, have a great evening, and see you soon.